Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. This is Alternative Media Television, AMTV Live. It is, of course, July 16th, 2013, and it turns out George Zimmerman, according to Jeantel, who was on the Piers Morgan Tonight Show, last night I watched the interview. I'm sure many of you have as well, and it's kind of flabbergasted, to be honest. You know, she goes over things like the difference between nigga with an A. You know, she says it could be like a Chinese person, like a, hey, you're my chino nigga, is what she said. I mean, don't take me out of context here. I'm just delivering direct quotes from Chantel. So she explains the difference between nigga with an A and the N-word with an ER that she says is offensive. And then around 2000, the rappers kind of changed the usage of the word. And what was really interesting, and I'm surprised that the gay community isn't extremely offended. I mean, hey, where's Hillary Clinton now, is what I want to know. Where's all these pro-gay rights people? You know, gay marching through the streets, which has been a big Washington issue. And I'm all for freedom. I'm all for liberty, my friends. That's part of being a libertarian. You know, even if I don't understand something or don't like something, it doesn't matter. This is about freedom. This is America. Do what you want. That's the libertarian attitude. But Chantel goes on to say that George Zimmerman could have potentially been a gay rapist. Yeah, that's right, a gay rapist. So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean gay people are more inclined to potentially rape another? And it just, for her to even think that America would believe that is crazy. Now, there's not to say that gay people don't rape other gay people or straight people or gay people don't commit crimes. But again, this play on words, this play on verbiage from Chantel and the mainstream media regarding this case honestly leaves me in awe. Leaves me in awe on a daily basis. Amazing that they can get away with this kind of stuff. And to me, you know, I'm just thinking from the gay perspective. If I was gay, I would be extremely offended of those comments, of those charges. Because it assumes that, you know, because someone's gay, they might be a rapist then. You know, because gay people are like somehow sexual deviants or something like that. I mean, that's what she's saying. That's what she's implying through her words. And talk about a double standard. I mean, think about this for a minute. She can use the word nigga among her friends. You can't use the ER. She says you'll get beat up within her crew. But she can go out and be like, you know what? George Zimmerman looked like a gay rapist to me and could have been a gay rapist attempting to rape half Hispanic, half white George Zimmerman. Who, by the way, his parents, I mean, their lives are ruined, too. I mean, this is great. America should just honestly, really just has to congratulate itself for just being a shitty society. I mean, here you have America and Reverend Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, the modern-day race pimps, race pimpin', P-I-M-P-I-N, race pimps. You know, coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden like, hey, you know, we haven't done anything in a while. You know, this is a potential story. This is airtime. And you see these people like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Mr. Jealous, use this to their advantage. And it's honestly sickening. It's gross. And then we watch people like Piers Morgan give really, you know, a fairly balanced interview. You know, I always go back. I'd laughed and I thought it was great too when Alex Jones went on the show, and you know, he portrayed himself kind of like a crazy. I mean, let's be honest. As much as I think Alex Jones is fantastic, and I really like his work. I think he's done incredible things for the movement itself. He's a true pioneer within the industry, but in the liberty movement, et cetera, kind of came across as a crackpot. I mean, let's just be honest. On Piers Morgan, basically fell into the trap, the same trap that the liberal mainstream media wanted him to fall into, so they could go, look, that's what a gun nut looks like, folks. There's a gun nut. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because I actually give Jones AJ props for what he did pushing the limits and pushing the envelope on the show. Because on the other hand, if he didn't do what he did, if he didn't go at it hard-hitting and in your face like yours truly, I think I would have handled things, quite frankly, a little bit differently at someone else's stage. I think I would have tried to I would have been firm, and I would have been in charge, and I would have been aggressive when needed to be. Stand up for our belief system, my belief system, the liberty movement itself, etc. But also be respectful and palatable to the audience you're trying to win over. I mean, if we really want the liberty and freedom movement to catch fire, my friends, we got to get it out to more people than just 10% of the population. We need 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100% of Americans to get behind this thing. So that I find interesting. But Piers Morgan has Jeantel on the show, and she's just dropping slur after slur, whether or not it's nigga, she says. You can call like a chino a nigga, or all these different things. And honestly, I mean, just using the A word, it makes me a little uncomfortable, to be honest with you, because I think it's inherently racist. Just like me personally, and I think a lot of Americans and a lot of people around the world were, quite frankly, very severely offended by the use, and don't take me out of context, this was a direct quote from Jeantel, who said that Trayvon Martin, before the shooting, called George Zimmerman a creepy-ass white cracker, is what she said. That was presented as evidence in a court of law. So, I mean, talk about a double standard. I'm sorry. Talk about a double standard. Here she is inciting. And, again, I want to know where the gay community is. If you're gay, give me a call today. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. You should be offended if you're gay. She's assuming if you're gay, that somehow makes you a rapist, that you're going to target the neighborhood watch Zimmerman because you're gay and try to rape him. I mean, this is just absurd. This is insane. Nobody will talk about this, though. You won't get anybody talking about this on the mainstream media. Everyone's going to be afraid. They just dodge around it. I even heard on the radio coming to the studio today, a couple local radio hosts are like, yeah, there's like a violent civil war going on in Egypt now. There's like people dying and stuff, bro. They're like, yeah, I saw a YouTube video and this like teenager who was a journalist from America got shot in the head by a sniper. And they're like, rest in peace, little homie. And then they play like a new song from Justin Bieber or something like that. Or it goes, straight to Taylor Swift. I mean, it's insane to me. Sometimes I can't even take it all in. I'm just like, jaw drops to the floor because it's insanity. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But, to bring it down a notch and to bring it into perspective, and I've got a really great video coming out. It gives you a top-down view of what is truly coming to the United States of America post the financial collapse of 2008. Because the way I see it, and I get instinctual around these kinds of things, the same way I got instinctual in 2008 when I was a broker for Merrill Lynch, and I went to my friends and family with tears in my eyes, said, get out of the stock market, you're going to lose everything. It'll be violent, it'll be severe, and it's going to bleed you to zero. And honestly, the emotion, I get instinctual around these things, and people are like, Chris, we love you, etc. You're a great guy, but, I've been doing this for, a lot longer than you. It's kind of like, the common, okay, some people listen, some didn't. Doesn't mean I have a crystal ball, doesn't mean I'm perfect or anything like that, but I do have a real great sense for these kinds of things. And honestly, the sense I get now, the instincts I have around this now, is we have the perfect recipe, the perfect big bowl of matzo ball soup a-brewing of racism, of hate, of an Obama-led divide and conquer strategy here in the United States, of war, and a new, fresh bubble, bigger, badder, and more violent than what we had before the collapse and crash of capital markets around the world in 2008 that sent our system into total free fall, a total gut check, a total destruction, total tyranny, where we were sold by people at the time like George W. Bush, who came on camera and appeared sincere to the American people, said that if we didn't do something, if we didn't bail out these same guys that just actually crashed the thing in the first place, that there was going to be anarchy in the streets. Our politicians came to us, and you can look up these videos for yourself. I've played them incessantly over the past 3.5, 4 years. They came to us and said, if we don't bail out these companies, there's going to be martial law. I mean, talk about fear-mongering. I mean, you know, I'll get accused, or people within the movement get accused of fear-mongering. No, this isn't fear-mongering, folks. This is just the truth. And as the way that I see it from a top-down, high-level approach, take it from a guy, and I have a great financial perspective because it's what I did professionally for over a decade. I was a broker. I lived it. I lived through 2008. I saw how it damaged and hurt those people I cared about, clients, family members, friends, etc. I was a whistleblower, so to speak. I mean, honestly, that world, and I still have a lot of good friends that are actually in the world that are great people, that are very good at what they do, very, very trustworthy, down to earth people. But it's just amazing how there is such short-term memory loss. I mean, people were literally killing themselves in 2008. I mean, you read about this shit. Same thing in 1929 during the Great Depression. I mean, this happened in 2008. People were billionaires. Some billionaires were throwing themselves in front of train tracks, like my life is, which I think is so sad. I mean, really, you value yourself by your net worth? Like, that's all you are, is the dollar signs in your pocket? I mean, that's sad, my friend. I mean, if that's what you value, and you know, you need money to eat, put a roof over your head, do the basic things to live and to survive. I mean, if you value that as much as to kill yourself over it, I mean, you got to kind of have a personal gut check and find out where your priorities are, because you can't take any of this stuff to the grave with you. And all of this stuff is as fluid as water or sand ripping through your fingertips. Now, look, it will be stolen from you again, just like 2008. You will be raped, and they will gladly bend you over, and they'll shove a big one, like Chantel was assuming all gays want to do to George Zimmerman types, because they could potentially be gay, and that if they're gay, that would assume that they must be a rapist then, because sexual deviance, etc., which is insane. Again, where are you, gay community? Where are your spokespeople? You should be raising hell right now, raging in the streets. In fact, you should be rioting like we're seeing right now. The freeways locked down, Oakland locked down, setting fires ablaze, Zimmerman family getting death threats, mom and dad who didn't even do anything to this. They just had a son who went through the judicial process like what happens in America in a free society that isn't Nazi Germany, and he had 6 jurors acquit him. And now everybody's like, well, hey, we don't give a shit about the Constitution. We don't give a shit about the Bill of Rights. Let's just hang the guy right in the streets. But they'll let other shit slide. I mean, okay, here's a big one. Here's a big example. Does anybody give 2 shits about the teenage boy that President Barack Obama murdered not too long ago, Anwar al-Awlaki's son, via drone strike? Anybody give a shit about that? Is anybody crying over that? Anybody marching in the streets? Reverend Jesse Jackson, like, oh, somebody died here and it was a kid and we got to, attack. No. Is President Barack Obama, is he like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, this is fact, folks. This is not my opinion. President Barack Obama pulled the trigger on the drone strike that murdered Anwar al-Awlaki and his teenage son. A real teenager. A real child in his mid-teens. Not 17 years old, as is in the case of Trayvon Martin, where you can go fight and die overseas with parental consent. You can drive a car. You're virtually considered an adult in most societies at that point. You are a grown man. He was much taller than George Zimmerman, much more athletic, et cetera, et cetera. No one gives a shit about that. Why not, is what I say. Why not? I value human life. I give a shit. I've been raising hell about that for years. But nobody cares. Nobody cares. Because they're falling into the trap of racial division, divide and conquer mentality here in the United States. And it makes me sick to my stomach. And honestly, when I see this happening, the first instinct is like, you know what, this place is trash. I want to get out of here. I mean, that's my instinct. Like, let's get the hell out of this shithole, this pile of stinking shit that is America today. Because honestly, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm embarrassed to be an American. People go, oh my God, You said that? How am I? No. That is pro-American. I'm embarrassed by this country. I'm embarrassed by a $17 trillion national debt and growing. By the way, they have artificially not been raising the limit over the debt ceiling over the past few days. Actually, it's been more like a week because they're still overspending, and that's illegal for them to do that. And they still got to work this shit through Congress and Senate, et cetera. I'm embarrassed by that. I'm embarrassed by the racial division here in this United States. Embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by the racial slurs. Gay rapist. Creepy ass white cracker. This kind of language, this kind of behavior disgusts me. Disgusts me. And this is coming from a guy who sure as heck ain't perfect. Sure as heck ain't perfect. But you know what? I try to do what's right. I try to get the good word out. I try to, every single day, to shed light on truth. I do it with vigor. I do it with passion. And anybody that's been with me and been with my show since the very beginning, and God bless you for supporting me and what I do and supporting our small growing organization feverishly like you do, know I'm for real. Know that everything I put out there is for real. It's one of the reasons why you guys tune in. It isn't bullshit. There's no teleprompters here. I've got teleprompters all over me. You know, I'm not doing any of that. I got to go to a quick break. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, we are back. I am Christopher Green. This is AMTV, Alternative Media Television. I want to give a shout out to my favorite new go-to magazine, SWAT magazine at swatmag.com, Survival Weapons and Tactics. Subscribe now at the link below. I'll put a link after this is archived, or call 1-800-673-4595. SWAT is available in print and digital editions. Again, that's swatmag.com. It's my go-to resource for everything survival, tactical gear, guns and ammo, from a guy who's probably the biggest gun lover and Second Amendment advocate on the face of the planet. And this is something your president wants to take away from you, folks. He wants to take away your right to self-defense. He wants to propagandize these types of tragedies, which is sick, which is, again, makes me sick to my stomach. So we can use that as a reason to shred your Constitution, flush it down the toilet, and violently disarm you. And there's no other way that he's going to be able to do it, because there would be a violent response from a disarmament here of the good, God and non-God-fearing people here in the United States of America that still love this country, believe in what our founding fathers set up for us, believe in this constitutional republic, are willing to die for her, many of which are doing on a daily basis, even to this day. You know, whether or not you disagree with the wars overseas, like I do, these egregious, gross atrocities in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, civil war in Syria, Egypt, sights on Iran, you know, to a certain extent doesn't really matter. A lot of people are dying. A lot of people are shedding blood to protect what this president wants to take away from you. And it makes me sick to my stomach. Now, good old Rush Limbaugh, my grandfather loved him, by the way. Listened to him every day. Rest in peace, Grandpa. He was a guy that used to have the shirt on that said, you know, this is the Democrats' point of view, and it showed a picture of a Democrat with his head up his ass. I used to get a kick out of that. Really, really great man. Came out of the streets of the Great Depression, like a lot of Americans did. Head of the household, 15 years old, in charge of the family. Literally, you hear these stories. Sold oranges, apples on the street. Drove a rental car company out to the great state of California when California was actually still a great place to live, and it wasn't Crowdifornia, as I like to call it now, and Debt-a-fornia, as it is now, bankrupt-fornia, as it is now. Drove a bunch of rental cars just to get out, and then flipped hamburgers, you know, inside, you know, any restaurant that they could get a job. As entrepreneurial as it could get, ended up, you know, building a very successful business. I mean, those are the stories, the real stories. I have them close to home. It's a part of me, part of my heart. And I know that there's so many of you out there that have those same stories. Those are the things that make America great. I mean, these are the things that we're trying to protect here in America. You know, the things that are being threatened. Again, I mean, it's a sin now in America to even be a capitalist. I mean, the groundlings don't like it. The groundlings are socialists now. Give me free shit, they cry. Give me free shit, President Barack Obama, they demand. I want free this. I want free that. I want free health care. I want everything given to me. Give me a tax credit when I buy a house. Let me do it at 0%. This is all encouraged by the banks. And, you know, I opened today's program talking about this is the perfect recipe, not just for civil and societal unrest, but it is leading to the greatest collapse in our financial markets that we have ever seen. Will result in the collapse of our civilization if it's not addressed, if it's not properly fixed. If we do not allow our market system to actually work, we will have another cataclysmic, systemic shock like 2008. It'll make it like a church picnic. And if there weren't blood on the streets this time, there will be blood. There will be literal blood on the streets, and people will die as a result. Every great civilization has fallen. You study this throughout history, and they get to that point when they get egregious, they become imperialistic, they're too big to fail. There's an arrogance, a willful arrogance among the people, and most importantly, the government. The government has completely separated itself from the rest of the people, and it becomes this overpowering, overreaching, bankrupt central authority that continues to propel wars, print money out of thin air, and spend itself into infinity and promise the people everything when it can't deliver. What do you think that's the recipe for? That's the recipe for complete and utter disaster. That is a recipe for war and civil unrest within the streets of America. That's a recipe for martial law. That's a recipe for a collapse financially. And honestly, that's the least of your worries. That's the least of your worries. This ship goes down, the ship implodes. You're not going to care about your 401k or your Roth IRA or any of that shit. You'll be worrying about getting something in your mouth, and then you'll be fighting other people off you that will be going for your jugular. Because when you boil down to just the raw human gut instinct nature of people, they'll kill you to survive. That's just the truth. That's the bottom line. There's survivors and there's people that are dying. And, you know, it's sad. It's sad to think about. But take a look at nature, for example. You know, we're so politically correct in society. Take a look at nature. Take a look how mammals and other carnivores hunt their prey. There's nothing meritorious about that. There's nothing sexy about a big lion going for the jugular of a giraffe or something like that and eating its heart out. I mean, nature is violent. It is to the point. It is a matter of survival. And those base instincts, as developed in high society as we like to pretend that we are, you know, it's like, you know, I wonder what the poor people are doing is what these people say to us. You know, we're so high and mighty. So high and mighty, yeah. Well, you know, we'll see how high and mighty everybody is when it gets down to the raw, basic instincts of nature during a collapse Mad Max scenario here in the United States, courtesy of your government. And you can thank President Barack Obama personally when it happens. People go, Christopher, how dare you drive a wedge into the Democratic Party and President Barack Obama? You never talk about Bush like that. And I want to explode when people say that. And I honestly, I have to laugh too, because I have destroyed the Bush administration on so many occasions. They are just as bad, if not worse, as the Obama administration. They are one and the same, and that's the point. There are no two parties in America. There is a one-party authoritarian rule. Yeah, you think you have a vote, you think you're contributing. No, you're not. You're a slave. You're like a Duracell battery. You have a half-life. It's like you pay a dividend to the government. Pay your taxes, stay in check. They'll tell you got a First and Second Amendment until you try to use it. You try to exercise it, you'll get locked up like Adam Kokesh, you know, arming himself in Freedom Plaza. They'll flashbang your house. They'll leave your girlfriend naked in the shower like they did Adam Kokesh's, bleeding because it was her time of the month. You'll be kicked down when you politely ask to use the bathroom. This is according to Adam Kokesh's team. Or you'll be killed and murdered like Michael Hastings. A lot of people believe that. That's an opinion. That's not necessarily a fact, but an opinion. It's an opinion of the mainstream media and a lot of us within the alternative media, including myself. You've been sold a lie, folks. You've been sold bullshit. You've been sold hearsay. And now with the advent of the internet and technology, and I remember people used to laugh at me. It's like, hey, what do you do, Chris? You know, like, you know, people like to say, like, you know, what do you do for a living? You know, I used to laugh. My brother, he's kind of just like this blunt, cool, casual guy. He always used to say, especially when women would ask him, because, you know, women are always trying to profile you, know, like, how much money do you have, et cetera, be a supporter, which is fine. You know, I get it. You know, people want to be taken care of. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, these are questions people ask, but they would ask him, you know, hey, what do you do? And he would just deadpan, nothing. I don't do anything. And it was funny just to see the responses of these people. But I remember when I told people, yeah, you know, I make videos, and, you know, I do it on YouTube, and I'm just, you know, I'm a big activist, and I believe in liberty, and you just, like, honestly could just get the chuckles, you know, interesting, and it's funny, and it's amazing how much things have changed. Because now you have people like me with an international platform with millions of viewers around the world. We've got dozens of sponsors, amazing sponsors within the liberty movement that help to propel our cause, help to propel the liberty economy. We're reaching millions and millions of eyeballs around the world on a regular basis, and it keeps getting bigger. It's amazing, and you know, it's not that that's a, you know, pat on the back or anything like that, but It's awesome. And the point that I'm trying to drive home to you is just like the government says you have freedom of speech. Oh, yeah, everybody's got an open platform. I can go out there and create one. You can. No, no, no. That's not true. That's not true. Only until you exercise it. We'll see who comes a knocking as we get bigger and bigger and louder and louder and bigger and bigger and louder and louder. And it gets to the point where the mainstream liberal biased corporate sellout media doesn't have a platform because no one's tuning in, and they've all moved to a different source of news, information, opinion, enlightenment, controversy, all wrapped into one, which I like to think is in what makes up AMTV and our platform. Is a smorgasbord? Is that how you say it? A smorgasbord of you decide for yourself. You know, and you know, a lot of the commentary I do too is very opinion based. Of course, we funnel through all the facts. We have our morning breakdowns, etc. We check our facts. We fact check incessantly. You know, occasionally we'll make a mistake. If we do, we let you know we made a mistake. People get things wrong. We're all human. But my point is, they say you have all these freedoms. They say you have the ability to do this and that until you actually start to take a little power out of their hands. You know, until the people actually organize in a way where they start not trusting the government, they start not buying into it, they stop drinking the Kool-Aid, they start realizing through education, which is a lot of what we do and what I do, that they're being raped and pillaged for everything they're worth. They've been overtly stolen from through an engineered financial collapse in 2008, the greatest transfer of wealth in American history. Everybody knew was coming. They funneled to themselves. That is an opinion. That's a fact. What do you think the bailouts were? Who do you think they bailed out? Who do you think confiscated the wealth on the downside? You see, the stock market is a zero-sum game. For every loss, there is a winner. For every winner, there is a loser. Who do you think the winner was? Wasn't you, my friend. Wasn't me. It was those detached individuals from society, those corrupt corporations that own those same individuals in Washington and the White House, and they took it right out of your pockets. And they did a fantastic job. And the American people are so dumb that they're now enraged and embroiled in a race war, and they could care less about what just took place. The greatest, largest, most massive heist in American history. Talk about the biggest gang-bang rape job I have ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm a pretty and a fairly young man. Let me give you some indication here of what actually is happening now. Of course, I reported Rachel Jeantel, Trayvon thought Zimmerman was a gay rapist, and Trayvon wasn't that kind of way. Let me do a split screen here for you so I can show you here. Here we got Rush. I was mentioning him before. Rush, an entirely new perspective on this whole sordid incident, was provided by Jeantel last night on CNN. Everybody's been under the impression that Zimmerman was a racist, and that's why he went after Trayvon. I went to great lengths yesterday, folks, to break this down and to tell you what I think this was really all about. I'm not going to repeat that, but it is at Rush. Okay, so it's at rushlimbaugh.com. Basically, what he goes on, he reiterates a lot of the points I made. But basically, the point that he makes, the overreaching point, is that Jeantel, going on camera and on screen, basically implied that all gays are child rapists. That, you know, Zimmerman, because again, you can't have the double standard of propagandizing Trayvon as a child, even though he wasn't. He was a full-blown adult, athletic, aggressive adult. You know, that's just the reality. You can't have it both ways. So when she says that Zimmerman could have been a gay rapist, she's implying that Zimmerman was a gay child rapist. And again, I haven't heard a freaking peep from the gay community at all. I don't hear a pitter-patter. And I want to know where the activists are. I don't actually even know who they are because they don't really seem to be in the limelight. I thought Hillary Clinton was the activist for the gays, which is another joke and a lie. You know, against the gays a few years ago, now pro-gay. Same thing with Obama. Against the gays, now pro-gay. I mean, give them a couple months, and if it's in popular demand and they know they can get a vote, if you're a child molester, they'll be pro-child molesters. They'll be pro-necrophiliacs. They'll be pro-bestiality. It's all about the vote and what they can sell you and what's popular at the time. And again, society, if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in those things, society actually defines that. So if society in aggregate says, you know what, it's okay to rape small kids and to have sex with ducks and mice, and that's just kind of the menage a trois that America decides on. and there is no higher power or authority, then if that's what society says is right, is it right? You start to get into these moral issues and the moral paradigm of what that means. If there is no definitive right and wrong, if there is no definitive truth or higher power or absolute truth, then it is all subjective. It's a subjective truth. So I don't know how you feel about that. I'd be kind of curious, and I'd like to hear from you. If you're gay, let me know what you think. Were you offended by those comments? Are all gay people, as Chantel is implying here, rapists, but more specifically child rapists? I think that would be very interesting to find out. Witness claims youths yelled, "This is for Trayvon," in a very public beating. Remember, people told me, "Chris, you're a liar. You're a bullshitter. There will not be race riots. Stop selling bullshit propaganda." And here I'm just giving you example after example of race riots and racism in an overt breakdown in society, whether it's Oakland or it's this latest witness claims youths yelled, "This is for Trayvon," in a very public beating. I got to go to a quick break. Everybody stay tuned on YouTube, our live Google Hangout, and American Freedom Radio, our radio syndicate broadcasting around the world. I'll be right back, hard hitting it in your face. Hey everybody, we are back. I am Christopher Green. This is AMTV, Alternative Media Television, July 16th, 2013. I want to give a shout out to my new favorite go-to mag, swatmag.com, SWAT magazine. Check these guys out. I mean, this is literally the best resource I found. Survival weapons, tactical gear, guns, ammo. Again, this is the kind of shit your president wants to take away from you. Wants to take away your right to self-defense, the Second Amendment, your ability to defend yourself. These are the types of and the type of erosion to your Constitution that people like me still care about. People like you still value here in the United States of America. Now, before we went to the last break, I was digging into the racial division here in the United States, the outbreak of riots, the beatings, and the violence that have occurred as a result of President Barack Obama's specific endorsement of the Trayvon Martin case and the race pimping, P-I-M-P-I-N, race pimping of Trayvon in this tragic event, which makes me sick to my stomach, by people like Reverend Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. And people said, Chris, there wouldn't be riots. There wouldn't be people in Oakland burning things down. People wouldn't be hurt. Joggers wouldn't be beat up, like the one here in this article says he was attacked in retaliation for Zimmerman verdict. Here's another story. Witness claims youths yelled, "This is for Trayvon," as they delivered a beat down. Pennsylvania business graffitied with "Kill Zimmerman," then set on fire. Zimmerman's parents can't even go back home. They fear for their lives. They've had so many death threats. So again, this isn't, preaching to the choir. This isn't I told you so or anything like that. Just the reality of what's happening. I'm reporting it like I see it. I'm reporting it as is the actual case. Stevie Wonder boycotts Florida. I guess him and, Jay-Z and what's her face? I'm having a total brain fart. Beyonce, they must have gotten together, talked about it, said, yeah, let's help propel more racism. Let's get more people beat up. Let's have more violence. There was another artist, Chambers, at the Chambers Group, elder gentleman. He was beat up by a white woman. So what we have here is just a total societal collapse. I mean, this is the perfect recipe for disaster. It's exactly what the president wanted. It's why he endorsed and likened Trayvon as his own son in the first place. Just like Zimmerman's parent says, this is a political agenda. It's exactly what it is, and it's a very successful one. And honestly, congratulations, Barack Obama. Congratulations, those corporations that own him. Congratulations to these Western profiteers that are actively destroying America in our streets, in our cities, and in our towns, and creating intense hate, rage, racism, and a very obvious engineered divide in this country. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. Stevie Wonder boycotting Florida following Zimmerman verdict. The singer refuses to perform in the state until its stand your ground law is abolished. Stevie Wonder won't be performing in Florida anytime soon. In the wake of the George Zimmerman acquittal, the singer said he would not be performing in the Sunshine State until its stand your ground law is abolished. He also said that he would not be performing in any other state that recognizes the law, which some say contributed to Zimmerman's acquittal. So, it starts here, and then Stevie Wonder won't go to any state that actually allows gun ownership, and then it'll be, any person that doesn't submit to totalitarianism, he won't attend, and then, anybody that doesn't get chipped right in their neck, he won't visit that state. And then Hollywood, really kind of organize around this. He's the luminous that these people are, and they'll organize around these boycotts. They'll get the American people behind it. Because, Beyonce could literally tell 13-year-old girls that it was cool to have multiple abortions, and girls would literally go out trying to get pregnant so that they could abort because they thought that it was cool to flush babies down the toilet. That's how much power these Hollywood types have. They say something, everybody does it. They endorse something, everybody does it. They say jump off a bridge, it's cool, look, everybody's doing it. On the other side, there's 25 virgins that are going to give you a blowjob, then people are going to do it. Again, these people are the gods in our society now. That's what society values, the commercialization of America. Buy this, buy that, buy a car, get your new Range Rover. That's the American dream. The more debt you have, the more things that you can accumulate, the more power, the more fame, all the better in this American society. It's what everybody wants. What do you think social media is now today? It's very sad. It's about me, 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 me. Put me on camera, listen to me. That's my tweet, my Facebook post, my YouTube video, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that is our society. It's the me fame generation. It's being popularized. And there's a lot of good things that it's done, a lot of good things it's brought to the table to America. It's gotten truth out. It's created platforms like the one you're watching. It also has had a very negative impact in our society in many ways. And to think that the social media isn't being infiltrated by the mainstream and by these multi-billion corporate interests would to be an idiot, to be a fool, to be not truly understand the power of news and propaganda. This is how societies work. This is how societies function. Just like I told you, Coney 2012 was a government staged, manufactured, and planted event, which is exactly what it was. I told you it didn't smell right, smelled rotten, like a piece of shit. It was. People said I was crazy. The very next day, the so-called director was out in the middle of the street in San Diego, waving his dick around town, screaming devil songs, yelling out Satan, devil worshiping like he was on a mixture of cocaine, heroin, smack, and then also been hit in the head with a brick. These were all staged. Coney 2012, a government-sponsored social media event. Those things just don't come out of the blue. They just don't happen. That's exactly what we have. So this is societal breakdown, and it will be coupled with an economic collapse. Bigger, worse, more violent, deadly. And it will be deadly the next time around because, again, the last thing you'll be worried about is your Roth IRA or your 401k when the next bubble pops. It'll be about food, water, protection, and protecting yourself from the base instincts that is man, the base instincts of violence and survival of the fittest that Charles Darwin spoke to and spoke of. And if you believe in randomness and a series of randomness, you believe that the entire creation of the planet was a mistake. It was an act of randomness. It's like shaking a glass together of a watch that I took apart into 1,000 pieces and through the magic of randomness putting it together so that it actually ticks and talks and can tell time. It makes everything random. It makes everything a mistake. It depends on it. It makes morality relative. One could argue if there is no absolute truth. Now, our society, and that's for you to decide. That's not for me to tell you, is there an absolute truth or not, or what you should believe. That's for what you need to decide for yourself. But within the system and within Hollywood and within the mainstream media, they are telling you what to believe. They're telling you who to worship. They're telling you who your gods are, whether or not it's Stevie Wonder, Beyonce, Jay-Z, the president, MTV, HBO, your favorite anybody really is the society that we live in today. So again, I just want to emphasize that where we are at this given point in time in American history is the most dangerous I've ever seen it. And I know history repeats. There's been plenty of things everybody thinks is myopic, thinks that their life matters so much, that they're so significant. I realize this happened many times before. But our society and civilization as we know it is disintegrating and collapsing in real time in your life as we're looking at it today. None of this is sustainable. I mentioned earlier that they've actually manufactured the national debt. They've been suppressing it artificially for the past week, not allowing it to reach the ceiling or the debt limit. So again, there is no reality to the numbers that we're getting. The stock market is hitting a new all-time high. These are all-time highs. Ben Bernanke is still self-conscious about taking his foot off the pedal 5 years after 2008. He's still easing. That's how big of a whore Ben Bernanke is. And Ben Bernanke is just one of the players being told what to do by the Illuminati, by the New World Order, by the system, however you want to define that, however you want to structure that. These people are simply carrying out the agenda. They are being told what to do, how to organize this relationship between government, central authority, power, the surveillance state, and the American people and the people around the world. Take for a look, for example, Edward Snowden. First thing Edward Snowden said, and I'm paraphrasing, when all this story broke, and he broke the NSA leak, which is one of the major, most breaking reports ever in American history, he said, "Do not make this story about me. Do not make it about me." He said that specifically, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, "Don't make it about me," because he knew the gravity of the information that he was leaking to the American public. So what's happened since? What has the mainstream media made it about? They've done exactly what Edward Snowden warned you they would do. They've made it about him. The allure of who Edward Snowden is. Who is Eddie? Where is he in Russia? Where will asylum be next? Is it Ecuador? What's his relationship with WikiLeaks? Bottom line is, who cares? Nobody should care, but it's the narrative being sold to you by the mainstream media and the establishment. What the American people and the people of the world should care about is what he released, the information that he's put out to the American people. That your federal government is actively wiretapping you. They're monitoring everything you do. They're recording your voice conversations. They're recording your texts. These are all going into federal national data mining facilities, multi-billion-dollar facilities here in the United States. The rats are leaving the nest at the Department of Homeland Security. Mr. Janet Napolitano now taking over the California school system to much outcry by the American people. This is what we're dealing with. And so we need to be vigilant, we need to remain focused on the truth, and we need to be focused on the events that matter. I got to close the show today because this hour is really wrapped up quick. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm Christopher Green, hard-hitting and in your face. This is AMTV. Peace.